last video, I very briefly mentioned that I have been working on a special project. I went back and forth several times about sharing this with you guys. Here lately, I've had a few bad eggs that have been making it really hard for me to want to share these kinds of stories with everyone. When I started my channel, I wanted to be really transparent about what I do with these horses. Buying at-risk auction horses is something that I've been doing for a very long time, and sometimes people have a hard time understanding it. There are a lot of private buyers that go to these auctions and purchase at-risk horses. You can definitely find some diamonds in the rough for a pretty reasonable price. I've noticed over the last 5 years or so, there's been a pretty big shift. A lot of the professional trainers that I know that used to go to these sales to look for prospects just don't go anymore. There is a lot more competition between the traders and a lot of fake rescues.
You're good, Gerald. All right.
I've noticed over the last couple of years, with less private buyers, the horses that are truly undesirable are still slipping through the cracks. I've brought you guys along on quite a few auctions where I'm just doing market research to see what the horses are going for and who is showing up. But every once in a while, I do find a horse that is truly in need of immediate attention. A few weeks ago, I was watching an auction that is fairly close to me online. There was a little donkey that I thought might be a good companion for Nigel that I wanted to see. Even though I physically wasn't at the sale to see the horses, when this little girl limped through the ring and nobody bid on her, I just couldn't help myself. Viewing horses by live stream online is a terrible way to pick up a new prospect.
Did you eat some snacks?
The auctioneer tried his hardest to get someone to bid on this horse.
Sure are pretty, little girl.
The price kept getting lower and lower, and nobody wanted to buy this horse. I was the only bid that this horse got, and I ended up only paying $50 for her. The sale barn is almost 2 hours from my house, so I hurried very quickly to hook up the trailer, hop in the truck, and head down there. I knew from the very brief video I saw online that she was going to need some pain meds as soon as possible. I called the sale barn and they were nice enough to stay open a little bit longer so I could pick her up the same day she went through the sale. When I told my husband I may have purchased another horse on an online auction, he was a little bit surprised. I think he thought I was joking until he saw me pull in the driveway with the new horse. There are a few smaller local auctions that are within 2 hours of me. Up until this horse, I hadn't seen one go through the sale that needed immediate medical attention. I know there are some pretty good rescues in Colorado, but there was nobody at the sale when this girl went through. It was pretty hairy getting her loaded on the trailer. There were basically 4 or 5 people at the sale barn that had to lift her up and put her in. Her feet are extremely painful and she can barely walk. I'm honestly a little bit surprised that they let this horse go through the sale. The alternative, however, would be this girl probably standing out in someone's pasture not getting any care at all. I am pretty familiar with horses off reservations, and I am 99% sure that is what this horse is. She seems really exhausted from being at the sale. Her feet are very painful. We were pretty hands-on with her when we got her in the trailer, and she didn't do anything nasty. I was able to get a quick peek at her teeth while I was trying to get her unloaded from the trailer, and she does still have all of her baby teeth. For the amount of pain that she is probably in, she is being fairly cooperative. I was able to give her some oral pain medication before we left the sale barn. She looks to be in a little bit better spirits than when I picked her up. Even though the trailer ride was not very long, I did stop a few times. I swung by the feed store and I needed to get fuel. Almost all of the hay I put in the trailer she gobbled up, so I think this girl has been without the proper nutrition for quite a while. It is very likely that because this girl cannot really move very quickly, she was scooped up off a reservation and then taken to the sale. It's really unfortunate that she did not receive any medical care. It's really easy to get angry at the sale barn when you see a horse like this. But a lot of times these reservation horses are in limbo because nobody technically owns them. It took a little bit of convincing, but finally I was able to get her to come out of the trailer. I really wasn't planning on getting a new horse, but I did have the perfect quarantine setup in place. Sparkler has been getting turned out on the arena pad, and it's a pretty big pen. Thankfully, I was able to drive the truck and trailer right up to the pen. While I'm pretty sure this horse is technically wild, she does seem to be sensible enough that she's able to keep her cool. A big part of that is also that she is just too painful to move around. Most horse sales take place on the weekend. I bought this girl on a Saturday after all of the vet's offices were closed. I'm pretty lucky that I have the skill set and experience to be able to care for this girl for a couple of days without the help of a veterinarian. She got oral anti-inflammatories as soon as I got her from the sale. Believe it or not, she is actually moving a bit easier than she was yesterday. I will give you guys a close-up of what is going on with her hooves so you can kind of see why she's having so much trouble moving around. I have some really nice alfalfa hay that she is getting, and I'm trying to get her on some kind of hard feed so I can give her a long-term anti-inflammatory. She doesn't seem to be very interested in it, and from her big old belly I can tell that she has definitely been enjoying all of the free choice hay she got yesterday. If I zoom in on her feet, you can see that they probably have never been trimmed her entire life. It looks like she has 2 front feet that are a grade 1 club. It does take a little bit of extra management to keep a club-footed horse sound, but it is completely manageable. When I very first picked her up from the sale barn, I was more worried about what she's got going on in her hind end. I've already seen a few vets here in Colorado, but I don't feel like I have a good enough relationship with them yet to where I can ask them to consult on a horse I just bought without making an appointment. I really miss my vet from Montana that would help me with these kinds of projects, and I just couldn't help myself and sent her a bunch of photos. I really respect her opinion, and a lot of times she can see something that I am completely missing. It looks like this little girl is a bit dehydrated, which is not surprising because she cannot walk around and probably just didn't want to drink water while she was at the sale barn. Since I wasn't at the sale, I am actually not sure whether she was in with other horses or not. If I get really close to these hind legs, you can see that there is a significant difference between these 2 hooves. One is about 2 inches taller than the other one. It looks like because the front feet are so painful, she's been weighting her back legs, trying to get some of the pressure off of her fronts. Her left hind foot looks fairly normal, while the right is definitely a club foot with a more significant degree of clubbing than the front ones. This little filly has been pretty darn sensible so far, given what she's been through over the last couple of days. I probably shouldn't have done this, but I did want to see if she would just allow me to take a look at her hooves. I know even with pain meds she is still really painful, but if I can get a quick peek, I might have a better idea of what I could possibly do before the vet gets here to ease her pain a little bit. Because I do work with so many horses just like this one, I have been trimming my own horse's feet for quite some time. To get a farrier out and trim a mostly feral horse that has come from an auction is a bit of a task. Crawling under a horse like this can be extremely dangerous, and it is always a bit better if you can do it bit by bit. With the amount of soreness this horse has, I'm not entirely sure that she's going to be able to stand on 3 legs to have her feet trimmed. The vet's office is open tomorrow, so I'm going to go ahead and call them and make an appointment. Initially, I thought that this horse was going to be a euthanasia case, but after getting a closer look at her, I'm really interested in finding out what the vet here says. With her being so young, there could be the possibility that this is a condition that can be fixed. Right now, I'm pretty busy with little Bruce. He is learning the very beginning steps of being halter broke, but with this horse coming straight from the auction barn, I am going to have to divide my time between him and the other horses and this new little girl.
Hey, little girl. You gotta eat your special food. It'll make you feel so much better, girl.
I noticed on Monday that her one leg that is technically the best looking was very swollen. I think she is definitely carrying most of the weight on that leg. She seemed in much better spirits than the previous days, and I decided to go ahead and see if she would allow me to groom her. Since she's been a lot more painful than I was hoping, I am going to give her some IV anti-inflammatories as well. If I can get her a little bit more comfortable, I'm hoping that I can maybe make a few adjustments to her hooves. With just a few little nips, I'll be able to give her a better base to stand on. I'm pretty lucky the vet was able to squeeze me in today, so he'll be out to see this little girl in a few hours. I've got a few different plans in my head depending on what the vet thinks, but for now I'm just gonna have to sit tight and see what he says. After just a few days, I think this little girl can tell that I am only going to do things that are in her best interest. I don't think she is actually halter broke, but she stands still well enough for me to get a halter on her. If I am able to get her feet off the ground, I want them to be soft enough so I can actually trim them. Right now they are rock hard, and she did let me know that they were pretty painful, but I just brushed some conditioner on the outside and that should make them a bit easier to get the nippers through. I'm going to wait for her pain meds to kick in a little bit, but then I should be able to get a look at her feet. I'm not sure if she'll tolerate fly spray, so I got out some SWAT just so she was a bit more comfortable. She does have lice, so I did treat her yesterday with some ivermectin.
Laying in the puddle? You're too hot, buddy. I think you gotta go inside. Go lay under your tree. Go on. Sorry, Brucey. No touching today. Not touching today, little man.
Bruce was pretty upset that he wasn't getting his daily scratches, but this is for his own good.
Sorry.
Anytime a new horse comes onto my property, they get the best care possible. With this little filly having some really painful feet, I thought it would be a good idea to put down a fluffy bed of shavings for her. I was really surprised to see her laying down when I came back up to check on her. It also looks like she ate the majority of the alfalfa hay I put out for her. When I asked the sale barn for the information on the owner that dropped this horse off, they said they had none. I'm pretty sure that was a load of nonsense because there's no way they would consign a horse without any information. You used to be able to disappear a horse like this at an auction fairly easily, but with the internet now, there are a lot of people that take advantage. A filly like this could very easily be exploited by a fake rescue or a kill pen. I post a lot of videos about my horses and I really do like to do them real time. When I got this girl, I thought it might be better if I just kept her to myself for a while. I've been taking care of horses like this for a very long time. Since starting my YouTube channel, there are a lot of viewers that just don't understand this part of the horse industry. These horses really don't have very much monetary value. Unfortunately, there are a lot of unsavory individuals now that will exploit a horse like this. Over the next couple of days, I will get a better picture of what this horse needs and if she's able to go through any kind of rehab. I have a chunk of money set aside just for horses like this. When one comes across my path, I already have the means to take care of them and make sure they get the best care possible. I will never ask my subscribers to pay for a horse like this. If you ever see any kind of fundraising or GoFundMe's or anything else on social media with any pictures of my horses, know that they are scams that are not being orchestrated by me. When I go to the smaller auctions, I'm really hoping to not see horses like this. But when I come across one that nobody steps up for, I just cannot turn a blind eye. Even though this girl is pretty wild, she has a pretty good mind. I'm really hoping our visit with the vet is positive.
Yeah, it's a lot better than yesterday.
After a few days of pain medications, I can definitely tell that she is feeling a lot more comfortable. She's definitely not moving like a normal horse, but today she had the energy to get up and jump around.
Whoa, girl. You okay?
This little girl seemed to have a real burst of energy when I was laying down her new bed. Until we get some more things fixed with her hooves, I think she's still gonna have a bit of trouble walking around. I'm hoping maybe the vet will leave me with some sedatives for her that will make getting her feet trimmed a little bit easier.
Girl.
This filly must have been extremely dehydrated because she went through a whole entire tank of water in the last 3 days. She was really sucked up when I bought her from the sale, and now she has a full belly and she is back to being hydrated and she looks completely different. With normal high quality forage, I've also noticed that she's starting to gain a little bit of muscle mass. As I get to know this girl a little bit better, I'm feeling more hopeful that we'll be able to do something to help her get more sound. The vet should be here shortly, and hopefully I'll have a better idea of what her future is going to look like then. After seeing the vet, he was pretty hopeful that we would be able to see some improvements if we got her feet trimmed. It's hard to tell the reason for her club feet. It could just be she has never had the proper nutrition and barrier care that she requires. We are going to have to completely sedate her to get her feet trimmed, so I had to make another appointment when the vet had a bigger chunk of time available. Until then, she is going to get anti-inflammatories and good feed. Hopefully this will make it a lot easier for her to recover when she does have her big hoof trim. I know I've gotten a lot of comments about my decision to leave Bruce in a smaller pen while he's growing. While this horse's situation is a little bit different, the club feet that you're seeing on the front could be just from a lack of care as a young horse. Without proper nutrition and farrier care, it just escalated to a point where she can no longer walk normally. If you completely ignore her front feet, she does also have a few things going on in her hind end. Because of how she's been standing, she has a big hock on the left side and a big fetlock on the right side. The vet seemed pretty hopeful that if we got her feet and her nutrition straightened out and kept her on anti-inflammatories for a while, we would be able to see a significant improvement. I was able to do a little bit of work on her feet. I was only able to get one nipper run in before she started to get a little bit angry with me. I'm sure it was not comfortable for her, but now I think she is standing a little bit better on the 2 feet that I was able to trim. Even with pain meds, it is still physically really hard for her to stand on 3 legs. When the vet comes back to her next appointment, we are also going to x-ray pretty much all of her legs and hooves. While the vet was pretty confident that the clubbiness to her feet could be fixed, there may be things going on inside that we just cannot see. Typically when I get a horse from auction that has really bad legs, they've had them long enough that you can see from the outside that there's something significant going on. I think the vet was a little bit surprised when I called him and told him the story on this horse. Typically, when I look at reservation horses at auction, I can find something wrong with them pretty easily. They've got a lot of conformation faults that lead to having some pretty wonky legs. Since reservation horses basically have very little to no value, most people will not even call a vet out to see them. I'm not surprised that nobody wanted to pay for this horse when she went through the auction. Even a kill pen that resells horses is going to have a hard time rehoming a horse like this that can barely walk. I'm a little bit surprised that there were no rescues at the sale that wanted this horse. I have been finding it a little bit trickier to get prompt veterinary care out here. I'm really lucky that the local vet was able to come out as soon as possible. But I am very aware that I used to be spoiled with the setup that I had in Montana. I used to do a lot of rehabilitation of horses with pretty severe hoof problems. For a while, I got really into the barefoot thing and using different kinds of composite shoes to help horses recover. The next time the vet comes out, he is going to do a very thorough examination and the x-rays so we can see exactly what's going on. We are then going to sedate this horse and get all of her feet trimmed up. I've got a few different ideas for special shoes that this horse may benefit from. This little girl has extremely tiny feet and none of the special shoes I keep on hand are going to fit her. While I am a little bit bummed it's going to be quite a while before the vet comes out again, it should give me time to special order different shoes for her. There's a new glue-on shoe that I've really been wanting to try that is basically a very squishy recovery type shoe. If I'm able to get a fairly good measurement on her hoof size, I should be able to get a few different options that will fit her when we're done trimming. She could always go barefoot, but I think as far as a prompt recovery, some special shoes might be better. I was able to do a little bit of trimming on her feet yesterday, and I think it's pretty obvious that today she may have walked around too much on them. She will continue to get anti-inflammatories every day. She's not been great about eating her hard feed, so I think I'm going to have to syringe it in her mouth mixed up with some applesauce. She really hasn't given me too much trouble so far, and most horses will learn to like the taste of applesauce if you're squirting it in their mouth. She seems pretty content to be munching on her hay this morning. The horses on the neighbor's property are very close to her, so she has not seemed to be freaked out about being by herself. The first couple of days I had her, she didn't really seem like she had very much spunk left in her. It's hard to say how long she has been walking around in pain, but I'm guessing it has been the majority of her life. The vet confirmed that she is just barely 2 years old, so that is a long time to be walking around with a significant amount of pain. I'm really glad that she's feeling comfortable enough now to lay down and take all of that pressure off of her feet. While I'm really thankful that the local vet could get in fairly quickly to see her initially, I'm a little bit bummed I'm going to have to wait so long for her next appointment. With her being so incredibly lame, I went back and forth as to whether or not I should try and get her another appointment with a vet in town. That would require another ride on the trailer that would be about an hour long. The local vet is also fairly competent as a farrier, so that is one of the reasons I decided to keep our appointment. I did get in touch with another local farrier that would work on her if she was completely sedated and had a full round of x-rays. There are definitely places in the country where you could get a farrier to come out and work with this horse without x-rays. I think in her case they are going to be essential in her recovery. I think the vet here was a little bit surprised that I was willing to spend quite a bit of money to try and rehabilitate this horse. It doesn't matter how much I pay for a horse like this, they are going to get the best care when they come on my property. And that means getting a full veterinary workup in a way that we can accurately evaluate what they're going to need throughout their rehab. Unfortunately, I do think in the rescue world there are people with good intentions that just do not have the skill set, time, or money to care for a horse like this. I consider myself to be fairly acquainted with the whole process of buying a horse like this, running it through a veterinary program, and then continuing the rehab and changing things as we go along. I've seen so many times people get horses like this and then they just do not have the means to take care of them. I see it happen way too much when a horse like this gets purchased and then the new owner just tosses them out in the field and thinks that that is an appropriate amount of care. This little girl is going to need some significant rehab to be pain-free. She is so painful that she is not going to be able to move around enough in the pasture to get the nutrition she needs. Even this morning, I had to bring her water because she was a little bit dehydrated and didn't seem like she wanted to get up. Horses are getting pretty darn expensive these days, and unfortunately, one of the easiest ways to get a cheap horse is to go down to a sale barn and buy one like this. If they have the proper level of care, however, they end up being pretty expensive. I think the hardest part for me getting a horse like this is waiting. There is a lot of uncertainty that comes with a horse that has this degree of lameness. I've bought a lot of horses like this little filly, and I've learned over the years that it's best to take everything day by day. I, of course, have plans in my mind about how her rehab is going to go, but until her next vet appointment, I'm just going to give her the best care that I can. It's always really exciting to see the light come back into the eyes of a horse like this. Every day she seemed to do a little bit better. After being dewormed and treated for lice, her hair coat started to glisten. She was initially very body sore from all of the pain she was experiencing in her hooves. But as her anti-inflammatories started to work, she seemed to really enjoy all of our grooming sessions. I take the quarantine of a horse like this very seriously, but Goose couldn't help himself and did slither through the fence one day to go up and meet the new girl and the neighbor's horses.
I know, Mare. Just stand still, miss. Stand yourself still.
After about a week of good feed and meds, this girl was acting completely different. Even though this little girl was still pretty unsound, she started wanting to run around and play with the other horses. I probably should have moved her to a smaller pen just to make sure she didn't injure herself. With her being a wild horse, I was a little bit worried that her pen would not hold her once she started feeling better. She seemed pretty respectful of the fences, even when she did get a burst of energy. Throughout her rehab, she did have a supervisor that would watch her throughout the day.
Come on. Psst. Time to go, Tiny. Come on. Psst. Not safe here. Come on. You're on the ride with me? You're gonna turn crazy. Behave. Ah!
A few days before her next vet appointment, this girl was acting so much more sassy.
Whoa, little mama.
I wanted to keep a pretty close eye on this girl, so throughout her initial rehab, I did a lot of work up on the arena pad.
Whoa, little girl.
If I had not been watching her, I don't think I would have realized how much she was moving around.
Whoa.
It would be really nice if Sparkler could be friends with this new girl. I was hoping to get all the mayors together, but Ziggy doesn't quite care for Sparkler, and I'm not sure that it's the best idea to turn Sparkler out with Prim and baby Bruce all at the same time.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Don't be crazy.
She seems relatively healthy now, but she did come from a sale barn, so I want to make sure this little filly gets the full amount of quarantine. She had just the tiniest bit of a respiratory infection when she came, and it seems to have resolved itself rather quickly. I'm always going to be overly cautious when dealing with these auction horses because you never know what they might be carrying. Judging from her overall lack of care, I'm also guessing that this horse has never been vaccinated. With all of the extra stress from being at the sale barn and coming to a new place, this little girl is at risk of getting things from my horses that are actually already vaccinated. So it's much better all the way around if I can get through about 3 weeks of quarantine. There's always lots to do around here, so I kept myself busy in the arena most days. I also went back and forth between handling the new girl and handling Bruce. It seemed like every day that went by, this little girl got more comfortable in her new surroundings. She figured out pretty quickly that if she stood by her feed pan, I'd put extra snacks in it for her. She also got really good at taking her anti-inflammatories in a syringe every day. She became really good friends with one of the neighbors who started calling her Sweet Pea, and it fit her perfectly. There's a lot of things that have changed since I started sharing so much of my life on the internet. But one thing that will never change is me trying to help where I can. I have never had an easy time turning a blind eye to a horse that really truly needs immediate care. I could be hunting down and buying horses that are so much better for YouTube's algorithm. And I know that this video is going to be one that a lot of people are not interested in watching. Many people use YouTube and social media as a way to escape from the realities of the day. But the reality of the situation that a lot of these unwanted horses face is something that I don't think should be swept under the rug. Unfortunately, at her next vet visit, we found out that Sweet Pea had 2 fractured coffin bones that had likely been like that for at least a year. There may have been a chance of recovery if it were to get caught immediately, but at this stage there was nothing else for us to do but to set her free from her pain. After reflecting on our time together, I am ultimately glad I was able to purchase Sweet Pea and give her the care that she deserved. I'm kind of bummed that Sweet Pea never got to meet Sparkler. It can be really frustrating when you get an at-risk horse and there is nothing you can do to make them better. Horses like Sweet Pea are at an extremely high risk of being sold over and over again at auction. It really stinks that this did not have the outcome that I was really hoping for, but I am glad that she is now at peace and not in pain. I really wish I had it in me to not care so much about horses at these auctions that I don't own. It doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon, and I'm sure if I see another horse like her at a local sale with nobody buying her, I am going to scoop them up. I don't ever see myself becoming a rescue, but I am still going to pick up these at-risk horses when I have the means to. Sweet Pea's story may be hard for some people to hear, but I think that some of the hardest stories to tell are the most worth listening to.
Come on, Ivar. Come on.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.